Good evening. I apologize for being tardy. I was over at a planning and zoning meeting prior to this. I'm Mayor Justin Burns. I want to thank all of you for attending this evening. We had no idea how many people would attend, and I got to tell you, when I just came over here right now, had the biggest smile of the day, seeing how many of you came out here. So thank you so much for attending. We know that street lighting in Beachwood is extremely important, and apparently you believe so as well, which is great seeing this.
You get one. You get one. Okay.
Yeah. So we're here this evening really to have a discussion. We have some ideas that we want to present to you this evening that our team is going to do. Brian Rennick, our building commissioner, is going to be in here momentarily. He's over at the planning and zoning meeting that I came from. He's wrapping up there. He's going to present some of our ideas. I'm joined here as well by Tina Turek and Councilwoman Allie Stern. I'm going to turn this over to her. But again, what we want to do at the end of this evening here is get your feedback, and we'll take that and we'll assess it, and we'll get back to you, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later in our presentation. So again, thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you. I'm usually loud enough without a microphone, so we'll see what happens. My name's Allie Stern. I was brought onto council January, so a lot of the work that happened for this focus group really is a credit to previous council members and the mayor and the administration. Basically what I want to do is just welcome everyone into this space. It's leap year. Hopefully we won't have another conversation like this in another 4 years. But we want to just kick off this evening to hear a little bit from residents so we can get a sense of what your priorities are when it comes to a lighting program. So it's an exercise called In a World, where basically you say, in a world where Beachwood lighting is, and then you pick one word that's sort of your priority, kind of why you came here this evening. So for mine, it's in a world where Beachwood lighting is environmentally sustainable. My name is Allie Stern, and I live on Hilltop Drive. There are a lot of people who are here this evening, so if you just want to say your name, your one priority, whether it be environmental sustainability, comfort, ease of being able to see when you walk your dog at night, we can get a sense of why residents feel so passionate about lighting and why you came here this evening. So we're just going to go around real quick. If you can say your name, your street, and then why lighting is important to you, that would be great. Would you mind kicking us off? Here, I'll walk the mic around.
Good evening. My name is Christine Del Rosso, and I like it the way it is right now.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Creighton Johnson. I think I'd like the light for my children to be able to go out and be able to see it.
My name is Jasmine, and I agree. I would like the safety for the students waiting for the bus.
My name is Dr. Strong, 3642 Beacon Drive. I just want to see what type of lighting you're talking about.
Great.
My name is Connie Strong, Beacon Drive, and I am concerned about the children waiting for the bus. Hi, Lois Higgins, Beacon Drive. I like it because of the safety issues.
Melvin Higgins, Beacon Drive, safety.
Boris Morrison, Concord Drive. I like it the way it is now.
Thank you. I'm going to move fast. Here we go.
Luann Crowder and my mother Betty Crowder, Concord Drive. We're undecided.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lori Crumpet. I like it for the safety.
Linda Graham, safety reasons.
Kim Haynes, we live in Concord. We do have a dog, so we do walk.
Huey Haynes, Concord Drive, interested in the outcome as well as the cost.
Do you mind if I skip council members? Okay.
I'm Naomi Zen. I'm on Beachwood Boulevard. Safety.
Susan Heikos, Beachwood Boulevard, safety.
We're doing so well. We're running. We're running.
Dina Moody Beacon, it'd be nice if they were solar.
Glenn Frank, Beachwood Boulevard, just information.
Wendy Leatherberry, Beacon Drive, safety for school bus.
Carl Hurwitz, Beacon Drive, safety. It's pretty dark on the block, and we also have dogs.
Okay, and we're running and we're running.
Leon Anderson, Beacon Drive, 55 years there, and it doesn't matter to me either way.
Steve Oliver, Beacon Drive, safety.
Jan Haynes, Concord Drive, safety and aesthetics.
Melvin Haynes, safety, security.
Rebecca Lowenthal, Ranch Road. I kind of came to hear what the data was about safety that you had.
Bruce Cutler, Ranch Road, information.
Dale Cone, Beachwood Boulevard at East Groveland, safety and information.
Okay, and we're running.
David Watt, Beachwood Boulevard. 20 dark streets at night.
Naomi Chase, Concord Drive, and I only came here because you weren't.
Colin Chase, Concord Drive. I love looking at the stars. I like dark skies and feel like the neighborhood's safe and concerned about potential light pollution.
Jeff Berlin, Beachwood Boulevard. Just kind of wanted to get up to date on the issue, and I like that there's a lot of snacks.
Shlomo Benziken, Beachwood Boulevard, just safety at night.
Same as Shlomo, I live next door, Beachwood Boulevard, Diane Josefovitz.
Larry Josefovitz, related to that one, safety and security.
Tori. I'm Karen Sullins, excuse me, Concord Drive, and we're here just to gather information.
Daryl Sullins, Concord Drive, just get information.
James Agnew, Beacon Drive, for safety reason.
Lena Agnew, Beacon Drive, safety.
Valerie Thomas, Beacon Drive, safety.
Jerry Thomas, Beacon Drive, safety and sound.
Deborah Wright, Beacon Drive, safety.
Jerry Cohen, Beachwood Boulevard, to hopefully broaden it because people walk the sidewalk as well as the street along the curb.
Larry Horowitz, Beachwood Boulevard, safety so we don't run over people walking in the street.
And one other comment, gentlemen, I'm an astronomer. I go to travel to see solar eclipses. If you want a dark sky, you ought to move to Geauga County.
Howard Golden, Ranch Road, I want people to be able to see where they're going at night.
Okay, so I can't. Okay, I'm gonna put this. So basically what we've heard just sort of kicking off is that some of the priority areas and concerns people have is one, just to gather some more information, which we hope we can provide you with this evening. Two is safety, and then also three, there are some comments about sustainability, and four, that there might be some hesitancy to make any move in either direction. So with that, we really appreciate everyone speaking briefly just now, to sharing your thoughts and feelings, and hopefully we can answer some questions for you this evening regarding the concept that's currently in development. And with that, I'm gonna pass it back to the mayor.
Thank you. You didn't ask me what my thoughts were here, but let me tell you. So I've been at City Hall basically all day. When I go home tonight, I have two dogs, Eddie George and Archie Griffin. And I intend on taking them for a walk. Obviously there's no street light, so I'm gonna walk them in the dark. So if we had street lights, that would be my reason, so that I can take my dogs out in the evening after I get home from work and be able to see. Nonetheless, we know that what residents want, we believe what residents want is a fast installation and an easy process of doing whatever comes of streetlights, and of course, no tax increase. We understand that. This concept came about, what we're discussing this evening, came about from Councilman Eric Sinnenberg in a meeting that we had in October, November, of discussing this, and I want to show you that, a brief video here.
Of our city, I believe, does want there to be more lighting. You know, nobody wants totally dark, pitch black streets.
Side streets, pitch black at night.
Streetlights have been talked about for years. I'm hearing from the residents as I'm walking out there that the lights are important to them.
Decorative or putting light poles up, is obviously expensive.
A 5-year plan would either include large poles or ripping up yards for underground wires.
It's estimated that would be about a $15 million project.
However, there is a cheaper alternative being pitched. Give the 2,800 households in the dark $1,000 or $2,000 to put up their own lights, a fraction of the $15 million proposed for streetlights.
We would have lamp posts really lighting up the sidewalks, which I think may actually be the greater need here.
It would be about here, so 5-6 feet from the sidewalk, probably 6 feet tall.
Another unique part of the proposal is when the project is done, the streets won't look like a Tim Burton movie.
I think there's that movie Edward Scissorhands where every house on that street is the exact same. We don't want total uniformity, but maybe we'd come up with 3 or 4 different options.
Before anyone says, let there be lights, council would need to draft an ordinance. And no matter what the solution is to light up the night, it could take a while before it's finalized, before a pilot program could begin sometime next year. Vic Gideon, 19 News.
So we decided to start with small on this and start with 4 streets in the city of Concord, Beacon, Ranch, and Beachwood Boulevard. And that's, of course, where we just heard where you all reside. We're going to start this potentially there. And we have our presenters this evening who are going to discuss the specifics, again, of this project. I'm going to turn it over to Tina Tarek, who's going to give you some history of where we've come to get this far as well.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome, everyone. We really appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to your advice and how we might move a program like this forward. I'm just here to give you some facts and some information. We currently have about 600 streetlights in the city. You can see through the map up there. Oh, go back one, Alec. That there are definitely on Richmond Road and some of our side streets, and that we also have some street lighting at the intersections in our residential neighborhoods. The city was a village in 1915, and we attained our city status in 1960. But the infrastructure for street lights were not in place at that time. It wasn't in the city's plan at the time to have street lights. So, we would have to build that infrastructure to put in what would be considered your traditional street lights. This is not a new topic. Many of you have mentioned that today. It was actually on the ballot back in 1966. It failed because 1,657 people were against it at that time, and 1,276 people were for. We had a lot less people back then, obviously. Next slide, Alec. So in terms of infrastructure, which we don't have in place for a residential lighting program, infrastructure improvements are typically charged to the residents. Street lighting, sidewalk installations, sidewalk repairs, road improvements. But in Beachwood, we don't charge for any of your roadway improvements when we redo your street. We don't charge for any sidewalk repairs. But we have charged through taxes street lighting on Blossom and George Zeiger Drive, and also for the sewer installation on North Woodland, Ramsey, and Fairmont. Next slide, please. Actually, back one. So the traditional lighting that's out there for residential street lights is your tall wooden poles with all the wiring above head. And then there's also the traditional where you might have a more decorative pole. It's a little shorter, and the wiring is underground. A project for the nicer looking without the wires overhead could be anywhere between $12 and $15 million to do throughout our residential streets. And it could take as long as 8 to 10 years. So if you have a 3rd grader right now, you might get lights by the time they're in college. And this traditional lighting program would likely have to be charged back to the residents in some form. So now it brings us to our current, if you could go to the next slide, please, conceptual model, which we really want to talk through with the residents here this evening. And it would be the residential carriage lights that we showed the video on. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our building commissioner, Brian Rennick, who can kind of go through some of those details for you.
Thank you, Tina. Hi, my name is Brian Rennick. I'm your building commissioner. I work for the mayor, my boss, signs my check, but I'm here to work for and with you. So what I'll be walking you through tonight will be some of the ideas we have come up with for this voluntary program. The program, we are looking for your advice tonight on how to go forward with this. So I'm going to walk you through about 10 or 12 slides. Thank you. So here's our first slide. This slide shows the placement of the pole lights on your property. It's going to be placed between 2 to 4 feet from the sidewalk and adjacent to your driveway. Everybody will have the opportunity to have one post lamp on their property. Can you go to the next slide? If you have one driveway cut. So it'll be just like that. One more slide, please. So if you live on a corner, you'll have the opportunity to have 2 lights, one on each curb cut. Next slide. So the next several slides are about types of lighting. We've looked into LED lighting, incandescent lighting, and compact fluorescent lighting. These 2 gentlemen behind me, we've had asked to come up, Mr. Marty Bursky and Mike Chikala. Thank you. They're lighting experts. We asked their advice on how we should go forward with lighting, and here's some of the things we came up with. So as you all know, LED lightings are some of the most energy efficient lighting there is. We've decided that, can you go one more slide, please? Thank you. So we've decided that the lighting color would be somewhere in this vicinity here, around 3,000 to 3,500. We're trying to be good stewards of the environment as far as darkness goes. So 3,500 is the average lighting that you would want to see out on your streets. The compact fluorescents are also a good economy-saving light. Again, these gentlemen can go into more detail about that. The incandescent bulbs are being outlawed by the federal government. As most of you know, they've already outlawed 100-watt bulbs, and they will be eventually outlawing all bulbs. They're all outlawed now, okay. Okay, fair enough. So that's why we've wanted to think about using LED bulbs, because their environmental impact on the environment. Can you go one more slide, please? So this is our electricity calculator. A traditional 100-watt bulb would cost you $21.92 to run for 10 hours a day. CFL, compact fluorescent bulb, would be a 30-watt equivalent to the 100-watt bulb. Estimated costs per year would be $6.57. The LED bulb, which is the direction we were thinking about going, the 20-watt bulb is the equivalent to a 100-watt bulb, and the estimated cost per year is about $4.38. Can you go one more slide? So this is advocate group called Dark Sky, which Councilwoman Ally Stern gave me a heads up on, so I did some research. There's 5 things here that Dark Sky talks about to be environmentally friendly as far as lighting goes. We use these 5 items here to make our decisions about what we thought would be best for the city. Energy use, the color of the bulb, the CO, is that on there? Yeah, there were the CO release, carbon release. So LED bulbs have the lowest amount of carbon release. So those are the best bulbs for this. Can you go one more slide? These are some of the post lamps that we're thinking about using. These are your standard carriage lights. Some are LED. You can get them in LED. You can get also 12 volt, which is low voltage wiring. Can you go to the next slide, please? And a standard base. This is also a type of light fixture that we were thinking about using. One more slide, please. So here's the program requirements that we came up with. I think you should all have these in your packet. We have requirements on the height. We're thinking about requirements on the type of light, the power used, the color rendering, and and some other items as far as the installation. So each homeowner would receive a stipend. This is where we're thinking about going with this program. Each homeowner would receive a stipend towards the cost of the post lamp. The post lamp requirements must be met. Those are the details over there. The homeowner or registered contractor must apply for a no-fee permit, so the permit will cost you nothing. And you'll have a contractor or yourself can install it. And then once you've completed the project, your inspections are done, then you'll receive your stipend money back. We haven't decided on the cost of the stipend yet, what the stipend would be, but that's what we're here to talk about. Also, you need to follow all electrical codes and city ordinances. Next one. So basically, you're gonna pick your light fixture and your post, you're gonna pick your contractor, you're gonna get your permit, get your inspections, and then you'll receive your money. Is there any questions? Sure, go ahead. I know it's a lot of information.
No, it's fine. It seems to me that an obvious thing to explore would be to contract this to some sort of firm that could say, hey, listen, I don't know how many houses are included on the streets. 100 houses? I don't even know. But say it's 300 houses. Say, what bid could you do to get 300 installs and guarantee the customer that it falls within these criteria, rather than each individual person rather than each citizen going out to find some contractor to then argue with the city about, oh, it's 8 feet 1 inch, the coding, like it just seems like bid it out, get a great deal. Like, why should I have to go find a contractor?
So yeah, that's a great question. We have talked about that. That is something we have talked about. There are a lot of legal aspects that come along with that. Obviously, we supplied the contractor, which is not out of the realm of something we've talked about. We've talked about this. It's a possibility. The issue is there are a lot of legal issues about we have to get in, the contractors that we would contract would have to come into your house, you'd have to be available. So there's other, yeah.
So it
Understood.
Contract.
Understood. No, well, that's why we're here talking about this tonight. This is exactly why we're here to find out what people want.
Because the last thing anybody wants to happen is we go through all this rigmarole, and then, oh, it doesn't fall into this criteria, you're 3 inches too high, and then you're getting, it just seems like
right.
So let me comment on this, because we've had lots of discussions about that. We recognize that potentially to be an issue. The issue is that every installation is going to be different. So we can't just have a contractor give us a fixed price to do every house, the 300 homes you're talking about, even if we're 10 homes, because every project will be different. I think that given if you look at the slide, it showed 2 to 4 feet off of the sidewalk for the post placement. So there's a good leniency there. As far as the height, contractors, if we have a specification, if we have a sheet, a contractor that's approved by the city will know the criteria. And this would be any contractor that you could potentially hire that would be registered with the city currently, or they get registered with the city. So I don't know that there's going to be that issue. The issue gets to be if we have a contractor that needs to come out and give us a price, they need to come out just like you would do and get an estimate, okay? Write that up. Maybe you're going to get 2 or 3 of those. You need to be available. I don't know when you're available, but they need to potentially they'll need to get into your home. Okay, and then they come to do the work and somebody needs to be home. So there's a lot of coordinating, and we understand that, and we want to make this easy. So I'm not saying that we can't do that, but I just want everybody in the room to understand some of the complications that will arise if we go out and do that. The other thing is if we contract the contractor and do that, if the contractor, God forbid, does something on the job, this is all electrical, and damages something in your home, your entire electrical panel or something else shorts out, or an appliance, there's a liability issue. And God forbid, your furnace goes out like tonight, you're going to be really upset, and I don't want you to be upset at me or Brian.
I'm gonna come around and help sort of facilitate this. The one thing I really want to reiterate is that this is an evolving concept, because I know Danielle and Jillian that are here, we were all campaigning pretty recently, and the one thing we heard residents say is that they wanted to see a change in the lighting. So basically, what we've heard from residents, which was in the first slide, was that people want it to be fast, they want it to be easy, and they want it to not have a tax increase. We're trying to come up with a way that we can present a program that meets those criteria. And so what we're really hoping that comes from this meeting is that we get advice from residents so we can see if this model meets those 3 criteria. And if it doesn't, then we welcome that advice from you so that we can figure out how we can create something that does meet it. So again, this is not a set in stone. We are not implementing this. This is the period where we're getting advice from you so that we can create something that really does meet the needs of residents. I saw your hand up, so I'm going to come to you, and then I'm going to come to this side of the room as well.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm on board, or I actually like the idea, but is there a list that you already have of approved contractors, so we're all not trying to search for some, or even trying to get them approved, or the whole process? Maybe just providing us all a list of who you guys already have, and then we can pick from there who we want to choose to do our work. That's my suggestion.
So the answer to that would be yes, we would have a list, but understand we can't recommend any one contractor. These would just be contractors who are registered with the city to do work.
Right.
We would skinny that down to just residential contractors. And again, this is, as Mr. Stern said, this is an evolving concept here. So we could talk to potential contractors who might be interested in just this project and maybe narrow it down to a smaller list. But yes, we would definitely provide you a list so that you don't have to get somebody who's never done work in Beachwood. Our inspectors are really tough here, so we want them to be used to their high standards.
We've talked about reaching out to the licensed bonded people, the contractors that we know, electricians that we know, contacting them ahead of time and saying, residents may be reaching out to you. Are you willing to do this? And only providing residents with a list of those who say, yes, we have an interest, so that when you are reaching out on your behalf to set this up, you're not really cold calling anyone, that people know residents of Beachwood are going to be reaching out to me. And possibly you can call on behalf of your entire block if you can organize it and say, hey, we want you to do all of our houses. That might make it more financially beneficial for them to come out. You can work with your neighbors. Can we all be home around this time? I'll come into your house, you come into my house, we can work together and make this happen. So, yes.
So the upfront cost, is that on the resident, and then later the stipend is the reimbursement for the cost?
Essentially, yes. When you say the upfront cost, we're thinking that this will happen relatively quickly. So that if you're paying for it, we can, we'll work quickly, diligently to get you a check, back for that cost.
And with that, there were numbers that were being sort of tossed around, but this way there's a stipend that if you want to go to Milan and get something that's like super fancy, we'll reimburse you up to a threshold. So but we're still calculating what that threshold might be. Again, this is a concept in progress. You have a question?
Often if you narrow the contractor list down, you'll save on material costs because they will buy in bulk.
That's great feedback, thank you. I'm working my way this way, I do see hands.
Is there a solar option?
At this time, we did discuss that. Here, I'm going to turn this over to these gentlemen here because that's their expertise.
I'm Michael Pachella. I'm the Director of Engineering for Hinkley. Hinkley's a 102-year-old lighting company in Avon Lake. So we do residential lighting as opposed to street lighting. So this project falls into the type of stuff that we develop. I am not a salesperson. I'm not looking to tell you any one solution. I will tell you there are many, many ways of doing this. But what I will also tell you is that this is the right approach for the future. Streetlights do create, LED streetlights do create a lot of issues. I'm thrilled that Dark Sky was mentioned. I'm actually working with Dark Sky right now on a project very similar to what has been proposed here as a standard. So without them even knowing it, what they proposed is something that's going to be coming for regulation in the future. With that said, there's a couple of general concepts I just want to throw out there to help here. A lot of people said safety and security, right? And people tend to associate a high amount of light to being safe and secure. But the fact of the matter is, since the world has gone LED, the amount of excess light that we're generating, even though we're saving 90% of the power from old technologies, we're actually generating 10 times more light and 10 times more sky glow. And the communities that have put LED commercial street lights into them The residents complain about light trespass, coming in their homes, not letting them sleep, blocking out the skies, okay? What you really want to do is bring your light source closer to your head in a lower amount of lumens so that it's falling just where it needs to fall, all right? It's going to save you even more money, but it's going to be the right effect. In our eyes, I think all of you know that you have night vision, which technically we call scotopic vision, and you have day vision because the sun is really, really bright, and that's called photopic vision. There are safe amounts of lighting at both levels of light. The biggest issue from a safety standpoint that I'm concerned with in advising the city is the notion of cars moving from street-lit environments with high levels of illumination, and those high levels of illumination are needed because in that car, on that street, you're moving at a high rate of speed. So you have more hazards coming to you as you're driving at a faster rate than you are on a residential street, okay? On a residential section, you can have a lot less light because you're not moving as fast and still be safe and secure, but not have the bad effects of light trespass, screwing up your sleep, forgive the words, all those things that happen with high light environments, all right? That's really important, but I want to make sure that what the city does, they have a safe transition for drivers. It's not walkers, for people driving, especially the older population, coming off the bright city street and onto the dimmer lit residential street. I did hear some people actually saying that, about coming off the street and driving into a dark neighborhood area. It is an issue, right? And that's where a lot of people get concerned with people walking the dogs, what have you. So safety, this project is going to be done correctly, will be in a lower light level, but you still can see without issues. Now to the question about solar. I work in all kinds of technologies, have done work for Hinkley for 12 years now. Solar is simply two things, not economical and not reliable. To have solar create the same amount of light that we can get off the grid, either line voltage or low voltage, the physical cost of equipment is 3 times as much. And the reliability after 3 years is horrible. You've got batteries to replace, you've got collectors to clean, you've got photo switches and so forth, controls that wear out quickly. Solar is a solution used a lot by the federal government for park rangers and highway indicators and hazard stuff where there is no grid. That really is a solar solution. Anything that you buy at the home centers for a path light, for landscape lighting, those of you who bought that know that doesn't last but 1 or 2 years. Right? So solar is not an option here. We do need to be empowered by grid.
Thank you.
So you talked about cost, and you said that there would be 12 to 15 million for the entire city. Let's say we went with one of these options of how, the way that the light looks. What is the cost to an individual house? And I know that there are different lengths from the house to the driveway to the, but let's give me an example. Would it be $2,000 to $5,000? Would this be, I mean, I have no idea what this means.
Well, part of that's going to depend on the fixture. So we gave some examples here, but we're looking at that number. That's something, that the city, again, would contribute.
Forget the contributing. What would it cost in general to put one light from someone's house?
She's right.
I have no idea what this
It's
is.
very hard to make any recommendation when we have no idea what the cost is. But you're saying 12 to 15 million, but how do you come up with
No,
that?
the 12 to 15 million is if we put in underground, street lights. Wire underground with decorative.
The traditional approach with the tall wooden beams with the lights that go out onto the street.
No, that would be less. If we did wood poles.
I'm sorry, the underground.
These are underground. So that would be 12 to 15 million dollars. Here, maybe it's let's say that the average, let's say it's $2,000.
Is that for the lighting guys? I mean, right now, I have no wires going under my grass.
Right.
So if I want to put one up by the sidewalk in an average house with the cheapest fixture we have here, what is the cost of that?
Great question. Okay, I want to be very, very honest with all of you. I am not even 10 days into this project. Marty was kind enough to ask for some data from us about how light is cast from some fixtures. And then as I talked to him while I was in Florida on Friday, he told me more about the project. I went online, saw that News 19, just read this today, which impressed me greatly. So I'm still coming up to speed. But Marty has given good advice. The largest expense you're going to have for putting in an outdoor light fixture is the contractor's labor. That is the largest expense, okay? That is why Marty suggested the 12-volt approach. because homeowners who are comfortable with putting in low voltage lighting can put in light poles. Now, why Hinckley? Why did Marty come to me and not Kitchler and everybody else? 3 years ago during COVID, I was crazy enough to listen to a bunch of people who were told if they're gonna meet with family members, go outside, it's safer. You're not stuck inside the house and catching germs from each other. Which then created this need for everyone to have outdoor living spaces and extend the hours. We make outdoor fixtures. Hinckley is known for making really nice outdoor fixtures. To answer your question about the fixture and the pole, from us, the cost can be somewhere between $500 to $2,000 depending on what you want, because lighting is fashion, it's art.
The question is, for the guy who's not the handiest person,
Right.
the female that's not the handiest woman, and gotta be equal here, and wants to hire somebody to put it in and buy the thing, without knowing a rough price, it's hard to have a discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I can comment to some degree. So when we thought about the concept of low voltage being a much friendlier and much more cost-effective fashion than 120 volt and what's required by code, trenching and material, the low voltage concept really boils down to a pole, a residential pole, a fixture on top of that pole, whatever that might look like, a transformer that 90% of residents have an outlet on their home, and literally low voltage cable going from, let's say, your outlet on the front of the house out. So just roughly in material cost I can speak about probably is in the $400 to $700 range.
But the labor, so for instance, I know that I don't have an outlet when I read
Yep.
my thing,
Yep.
so someone would have to do some electrical work, dig a hole.
Right, and that's the variability, is what has to happen within your premise, that we just can't work.
Yeah.
I understand all that, it's very hard, from what I work in, when you come to a discussion and talking about should we do this or should we not do this, when you really don't know what the cost is.
Well, again, just a comment, as Mayor Burns described a range, let's say, of, let's say, $1,000 to $2,000, that, in my view, should be fairly correct for labor and material. And of course, obviously, every home is different. My yard is longer, my yard is shorter, I have an outlet, I don't have an outlet. So there are obviously variations.
And it sounds like, from what people are saying and the murmuring I'm hearing, getting a sense of potentially that projected cost is information people really do need to know as we evolve this concept. So reaching out to the contractors on the list, obviously there's huge variables between the distance of someone's home and where we would be putting these lights. That gets factored into labor costs. But providing that a general range for residents sounds like something people would want to have when determining if this is a concept that is viable. If you can raise your hands really high so I get a sense. Okay, I'm going to start over here, I'm going to work my way back.
If you went and had the city pay for the lighting fixture and the installation of that with like a stub out so that the resident can do their own electrical from that to the pole, then all of the people worried about if it's this or this or this, you'll have one contractor responsible to make sure that all that's done, and they would be able to pick from a choice of however many fixtures is in the price range. And then the resident only has to worry about finding an electrical contractor, not someone who's going to be putting in the pole.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make a couple of points. One question is, you're talking about a standard light fixture. I mean, Beachwood Boulevard is next to Blossom. What about putting in something like what's on Blossom? Because I would think that would be less expensive, so I don't know. But I'm just asking that as a question. You probably don't know the answer.
No, we do have an idea, again. So what's on Blossom would be someplace, would someplace be between $12 to $15 million if we did it on all the residential streets in Beachwood. with underground wire and a decorative pole? So that's a great question.
Okay, well, the other thing is, Ally, you said that, let's say some people, you know, I get together with some of my neighbors on Beachwood Boulevard and we find a contractor. Well, you said if we can do that, why can't the city do that? And, you know, because I'm a senior citizen, I'm not handy. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to have to go around and arrange this. Can't you set up the parameters and you know, negotiate for us, you know, for example, like NOPAC does? I mean, that's...
Okay, I understand that. Again, I think we brought up some of these issues before. Again, every installation is going to be different. And here, just to think about some of the things that you know, I don't know. I don't know if you have an irrigation system. I don't know if you have an invisible fence. I don't know if we have to go under walkways or driveways. So again, just so everybody understands that a contractor can't say that every house to do 10 houses, each one of them is going to be $1,000. And if they can do them all in a week, you know, that's great. I understand what you're saying. Again, the arrangements need to be made with the contractor to come out and give an estimate.
It's too messy.
Okay, that's fine. That's what we, and here, again, let me reiterate. This is what we want to hear this evening, to have this discussion. So that's good to know. Understood.
I'm gonna come over to you and then I'll work my way back.
I just wonder, is there any consideration for us that have the older homes that don't have outdoor plugs when it comes to the stipend? Is it you get the full amount, or is there any consideration for us that would have to have extra labor costs?
Again, this is a work in progress, but I think we're thinking that everybody will get the same amount regardless. So we recognize that some homes don't have an outlet. Contractor's gonna have to drill into your home and potentially tie into your electrical panel, so they'll be in your basement. The other thing is that, I don't know if we mentioned here, it was up on the screen, but I don't know that Brian said it, that everyone would be on a sensor, a dusk to dawn sensor. So we want to ensure that those come on. But I think that what we would do to make it clean is everybody would get the same amount regardless of what the cost would be.
Do we know of any other city, municipality that has done something like this before? And the outcome, or are we test dummies?
I can mention that because they don't know this yet. Yes, there have been other communities that have taken this approach largely around our sky. And the lessons learned from many communities, we're talking New York, Arizona, California, a lot of places. The lessons from these communities is that when they took an approach where they didn't put the pole near the street or the sidewalk, where they kept everything near the home, and they were maintaining what we call the light trespass level of 100th of a foot candle, which is half a moonlight, that people didn't feel comfortable on the streets. So by having the pole be closer to the sidewalk is definitely the better approach.
I guess my question is more of having the residents themselves, the program of having the residents themselves doing part of the setup and whatnot. Has that ever been done before? Or has it always been a citywide function? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
Okay, thank you.
So it should be said that a lot of cities, when they were developed that infrastructure.
Right.
And we are trying to essentially retrofit our entire city to provide residents with lighting. So we are going to have to think, this is the whole point, is we're trying to really think outside the box so that we don't end up having to do tax residents for a very large, very ambitious project. So, but we might be pioneers, think of it that way.
Can you put the picture back up with the light out in front of the home?
What, that one or the one before?
The one, the actual house
The actual house.
with the light out front. Yeah, okay. I work for Dominion in construction, so I can't help anybody's bill. What you can expect, well, I think the question was asked, because you really don't know what to expect.
It's on.
Where the light pole is, they're gonna have to dig a hole there. Up where your house is, if you don't have an outlet, or if you do have an outlet, it's gonna be a second hole. Whether they bore the pipe the conduit in from the light to your home, the board, stick a rod under the ground, go into the house, and it'd be open hole. Or if they open, what we call open cut, dig a trench and lay the conduit and the wire in there. So when we did it before the gas company took over, service line cost, it was about $1,200. But you have to add the cost of the light and the material in that also. So you're talking about $2,000. Yes, just to give you a little concept on what they have to do. And if inside work, it's going to be a cost for that.
Valuable expertise.
Can I just say one thing about that? And that was the beauty of the 12-volt system that these gentlemen were talking about. You're talking about putting a pipe in the ground or a large wire. The low voltage, which you may have some in your front yard, path lighting, you don't have, with the low voltage, you don't have to dig a trench through here. You can actually use a shovel to put a groove in the ground and work your way through. You don't need to dig a trench. You can, because of the regulations with low voltage, it doesn't have to be that deep in the ground. And that's why a homeowner could do that. If you can put a spade shovel in the ground and work your way to your house, you can do that yourself. That's the beauty of 12-volt
That's a risk
lighting.
of homeowners doing flowers or something out there hitting it.
Right, and that's a possibility, but the great thing about 12-volt, you can't get electrocuted with 12-volt. It's easy to repair, and it's easy to install. That's a great thing about 12-volt.
And if it happens to be a long mulch, you don't have to dig anything, just lay the wire in the mulch.
Right.
Depends on your house.
Again, if I could just see a show of hands of who else still has questions, so I get a sense. All right, I'm gonna go to these two individuals, and then I'm gonna work my way back.
I just want to know, is there or will there be, or would you consider a grant program that would help homeowners to get this work done? And if a person already have a light, do they have to get another light?
Well, here, essentially what this is a grant program, I guess if that's what you want to call it. We would be contributing up to X amount of dollars for this.
Is there a percent that you'd be contributing, or you just?
It'd be a fixed amount, not a percentage, it'd be a fixed amount. And again, that amount would be, we'd come up with an amount that we believe could be done. Now, again, every home is going to be different. So some people, it would be maybe more than enough. Some people may have to put some contribution into it. We just don't know. I'm sorry, what was your other question?
If a person already has.
If you already have a light. So again, you wouldn't just get it if you already have a light. It'd have to meet our criteria. And it'd have to be on a sensor as well. So you may have to change your, listen, if you already have a light out at your driveway, maybe you could use that existing service to come out there, put in a new post and a new light, and put in the sensor, and hey, you're gonna get the money. The idea is we want to light up the sidewalks, is what we're trying to do. So we're not trying to make it so that you can't do it. We want to make an improvement.
So she kind of actually answered mine, because people on my street, my light is kind of towards maybe like that, I'm not sure. I think you're on my street, you can come over and measure and see. Which may be better, because my husband was kind of messing with it, so I need a professional to come do it correctly. But that kind of answered my question in regards to that, just using the existing outlet from where we're at.
This is absolutely voluntary.
So would it, could you have two residents say I want to do it across the street and say no?
Well, that's why this is a pilot program, and if that happens, we'll know that that's a sign for the rest of the city not to move forward with this, and we'll have to look at alternatives.
And also, there are some residents who have expressed not wanting to have their sidewalk. So this also gives some residents the freedom to choose whether they want it in front of their homes or not. But the hope is that we can create a model that is fast, easy, and cost-effective enough that we do get collective buy-in so that residents will have greater illumination on their sidewalks. And I see jumping.
one diagram before with the house. What?
Here, can you, I'm gonna give you this microphone instead, so.
On the light, it shows, rather on the diagram, it shows 2 to 4 feet from the driveway. Is there going to be a set distance that was uniforming?
So here, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. The 2 to 4 feet is off of the sidewalk.
Okay.
Is what it is. And basically why we have that is because we also plow your sidewalks in the wintertime. We don't want to hit that pole. So we set it someplace in there again, so a contractor gets a lot of leeway if they're there. That'd be the uniformity, it's 2 to 4 feet.
I was thinking if it was 4 feet, that way straight down the street, all the light posts would be in line.
Understood. So the issue there also is that if you put it further, the more you put it off the sidewalk, that light has to have a wider candle. And again, depending on the fixture that's utilized, it need to be put out more light. And I don't know if it would do that. But I understand what you're saying. Again, as we saw in the video, and Mr. Sinneberg talking, he didn't want all the lights necessarily look the same. And I understand you're talking about potentially a different fixture, but them to all be in line with one another. Some areas of the city, the yards are far enough apart that I don't know that it's going to matter. But we can come, again, this is a work in progress, and we can come up with a fixed footage off the back of the sidewalk.
I think fundamentally we need to readdress what this is defined as sidewalk lighting. People do walk in the street, people cross at intersections, and I understand historically the city had no infrastructure to enable it to effectively institute street lighting. But I think you owe us a little more discussion about why you don't think Beachwood needs more street lighting. I think possibly this, though very cosmetic, and yet Hinckley Company hasn't offered us another community that we could go walk and drive, and see how it works there. But my feeling is that sidewalk lighting may be somewhat, if not ineffectual, to increase the safety of the actual behavior of the people, certainly on Beachwood Boulevard. And you certainly put the nail in the coffin of solar.
Yeah.
I don't totally accept that because, like EV cars and everything, the technology is increased logarithmically.
Yeah.
I
No,
think,
it's a question of how many watts are needed to run the light.
right, but I think in terms of cost, all right, so it's more expensive. But back to solar lighting, so what? We're not the village we were in the 50s and 60s. I think we'd all feel, rightly, that we're a forward-looking community.
Right.
And we can afford cutting-edge stuff.
Right.
Not some ineffectual sidewalk lighting, but proper street lighting. And again, I don't totally accept, I think you use the word transfer into people's windows in their homes. That's a minor thing. But I think we need true increased safety, wise spending, and wise fundamental research into what would be effective. But I think this, basically what I'm listening to, let us get pulled into the weeds very fast about 12 volt, tearing up the lawn, this and that. That's not the issue. But effective safety in the city, somewhat forward-looking so that we would be cutting edge. We can afford it. But I don't think sidewalk lighting is as effective to increase the safety for the actual behavior of people as they walk our streets.
So you asked for an opportunity to walk or something. Where I live, kind of a community that I'm actually a board member of,
right.
We've done this. And if
Okay.
it's really important for that,
Sidewalk
don't.
lighting, sidewalk lighting.
Our kind of community does not have sidewalks. We have private streets that are more narrow, but we have this approach of lighting. And I'd be willing to coordinate with the city to tour it over and see what that area is like, driving through that
Yeah,
area.
I'm not trying to be combative.
No.
But as I drive, and there's a lot of gray hair tonight, our contrast and our night vision is compromised. And yet we all have modern cars with really good headlights. But as I drive Beachwood Boulevard, even with my blinding brights on, people are at the curb. I don't think sidewalk lighting is going to increase the safety when I drive. I don't have a dog, but I walk. I can walk just fine as the city as it is without sidewalk lighting. But we need to increase some technology, whether it's called street lighting or sidewalk lighting, but something that is effective, that accomplishes better safety for both.
Well, okay, so point well taken. Again, we did start out looking at street lighting. Again, we came up with these various costs for wood poles versus underground wire and decorative poles. And I think that's a bigger conversation that we'd have to come back at another time.
Spend the money, make it safer.
Well, again, we can come back. It's a lot of money, $15 million, and this would be over a 10-year time. So really,
Why can't you do it over 5 years, $3 million a year?
okay.
Solar lighting eliminates that kind of infrastructure, which is old school and expensive. But effective solar lighting, if it is available, and I'm not.
It's not effective. I don't mean to debate with you. I'm an advisor of the California Energy Commission. I can give you all kinds of information, stuff to read about what California is doing with zero net footprint. Okay? It is not solar lighting. It's not the direction. It's normal lighting, but a whole different level of windmills, some solar collection, and large-scale batteries and microgrid. Okay? That's where California is heading. And that requires extensive infrastructure. And the price tag would go well beyond $50 million to buy that.
I think these are conversations that definitely should continue and will continue. I want to be really mindful of the fact that we've reached the over an hour mark. I think we can take three more pieces of advice from residents, and then we're going to provide you with what the next steps to this conversation are going to be so that you know how we're going to be moving forward.
Thank you. I think before we start, I kind of agree with what this gentleman was saying, like start looking at like light bulbs and stuff. If one of the objectives is safety, there's a difference between like homeowner safety and also driving safety. And I think it would be really good to see some data in terms of what kind of lighting programs have improved the different safety like dynamics in different cities. I feel like everybody, if we're saying that we know street lighting would be better, but it's too expensive, why can't we just maybe instead of 20 million or 15 million, spend 2 million, do a trial for a couple of years on a few blocks, and then see what happens. And then if people want to do a program like this, and that's great for their own homes, but it just seems like, why can't we test something that's, what we know addresses, or we assume would address more, instead of just reverting to Plan B right now?
Again, we've looked at that and had discussions, and we don't necessarily really need to do a trial. We've all mentioned that Blossom, but we know if you put the street lights up like you're talking about, it's gonna make the street brighter.
Great.
But there's a cost to that. And again, like anybody, everybody has only so much money they can spend. And again, this is a conversation probably different than what we're having this evening, that we can come back and discuss. If people in this room don't like this concept that we've come up with, then we'll look at something else.
In terms of data, I also want to reiterate that we referenced the Dark Sky Initiative. The traditional lights that do light up the street do cause a significant amount of ambient light. And there is significant research in terms of the health defects that can have on people to be exposed 24 hours to certain levels of light. A lot of residents who live not on your streets, but on streets where there are corners that do have those traditional lights have called me, have called other members of City Council to complain viciously that it is spilling into their windows at night. They have to buy blackout shades. They want the lights turned down. President Isaacson lives on Lindway. I'm sure he hears this frequently. So I think it's important that to reiterate, we're trying to balance the environmental impact, the health impact that lights have, and also that cars do come equipped with headlights. So for drivers, they have those built in, and the feedback that we had heard up until now is that people want their sidewalks illuminated for the pedestrian use. But again, this advice is important to us as we continue to develop this concept. I can take 2 more pieces of feedback, and then I think we're going to need to wrap up.
First, I wanted to say that
I'm happy to be part of this program. It's a great start, and I have a question that for those people that have a corner house and they need a light on both streets, both corners, both streets, is there an increase in is there more of a allowance for that?
Yeah, so what it is, again, to be clear, is if you have a driveway apron, and if you have a corner house and a driveway apron on both streets, then you would get twice as much. You get that amount, whatever we come up with, for each post.
What if your other corner, the other street is you don't have an apron?
Well, at least right now, again, this is conceptual, right now, no, then you wouldn't get it because you'd just be putting a light post arbitrarily someplace in your yard. And right now, the picture that we had up here showed it at the corner of the sidewalk and the driveway. But that's something that we could look at. I know where you live, and I understand that, yeah, you have a big yard on a street. And again, our objective is to potentially light up the sidewalk.
The gentleman's going to be our last comment for the evening, and then if people continue to have questions, we remain available. So feel free to reach out, but we're going to wrap up at this one.
Yes, I live on a corner house, and I do have to have blackout shades to sleep. But who's responsible for the maintenance or upkeep as the years come?
The homeowner would be responsible then for the maintenance and upkeep. And again, I think we had this as you'd have to keep this operational for 5 years. So when we do a housing inspection every so many years at your home, we'll check to make sure that that's operational. But the homeowner would be responsible for the upkeep and maintenance. So thank you. I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. The discussion we had here and your advice to us is very helpful. I know that some people may have some questions as well, and you don't like speaking in public. And really, if you want to talk to me, you can call my office, and I will be more than happy to talk to you when you give me a call or when I'm available to do so. And if you weren't able to ask your question tonight, you wanted to, likewise. The next things that we're going to be doing here, make sure you signed in, because we're going to be getting a hold of you. I'm going to discuss this or bring this up at the March 4th council meeting so that the entire city knows that we had this discussion this evening. We're gonna give you all a phone call to discuss this more. If you don't call us, we're gonna call you to talk about this. After spring break and the Passover holiday, we're gonna have an update. We're gonna take your advice that you gave us this evening. We're gonna digest that, and we're gonna get together and figure out where to go next from there. And again, if you have questions, call me. You can call Mr. Rennick, our building commissioner, or you can reach out to council members as well. We're here for you. We understand how important this is. I know this has been talked about for years and years and years, and we're going to try to do something to make something happen here with some sort of lighting that meets the criteria that all of you want and what we want as well. So again, thank you so much for coming this evening.
Sorry. If I can, my name's Alec Isaacson. I'm president of City Council. I'd like my colleagues on council to stand up. You've got most of us here this evening. Councilman Mintz, Councilman Sinnenberg, Council Vice President Danielle Schoikert, Council Member Jillian DeLong in the back, and Council Member Stern has been walking around. You guys know her better than any of us right now.
Sorry.
What? No, that's fantastic. So a lot of the city's leadership has heard what you have to say tonight, and that's important. And like the mayor said, we thank you for being here, and we thank you for sharing your opinions on this, because this is how we then govern effectively, and this is how we deliver what it is that's going to be best for our community. So we hear you. There will be adjustments, and then we'll try this again. Thank you, Mayor.
And I just want to add one more quick thing. In addition to the phone numbers that are in your packet, we do have a dedicated email address regarding this program. It's pilot@beachwoodohio.com. It's in your packet. It's on the screen. So you can email your questions directly there if you don't want to make the phone call.
Thank you again.